All right, let's jump right in. We've got this self-help book all about finding happiness, and we're going to, really dig into it and pull out the best stuff.
I think what's so cool about this book is like it doesn't just say happiness is a choice. It gives you a different way to think about it. It says you find happiness by like noticing the good things that are already there.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not about like, I'll be happy when, it's about being happy right now.
Exactly. And it talks about these small successes, which I think is really powerful.
What's a small success?
It's anything, any action you take, no matter how small, that moves you towards like a goal. It's not about how big it is, it's that you did it.
Hmm. So even just like deciding to listen to this deep dive could be a small success when it comes to, personal growth.
Totally. It's like the book gives this example of learning guitar. Like just strumming one chord right is a small success.
Yeah, I get it. It might not sound like much, but it's like proof that you're moving in the right direction.
Right. And it builds from there.
Okay, so building on that, there's this whole thing about embracing your true self, but not like some rigid definition of who you are.
Yeah, it's more about understanding that you have like different sides to you, like a willow tree.
Mhm.
It bends with the wind, but it doesn't break.
So you can be yourself and adapt to different situations.
Exactly. It's about being authentically you while, also navigating the world.
So it's like, okay, I can be outgoing with friends, but serious at work, and both are genuine parts of me.
Yeah, yeah. It's recognizing those different parts and how they like help you in different situations. And speaking of navigating, this book has a really cool way of looking at happiness and, all the ups and downs of life. It compares it to a spiral.
A spiral. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So, like, a spiral isn't a straight line, right? It goes up and down, but each loop is a little higher than the last. And the book says those challenges and setbacks, they're not failures, they're just part of that upward spiral.
So it's not about avoiding tough times. It's about learning and growing from them.
Exactly. And the book goes even further, saying that even negative experiences, even traumas or huge setbacks can be reframed as gifts.
Wait, hold on. How can something bad be a gift?
It's about how those difficult events, even though they're tough to go through, they can really shape who we become. They test our resilience, they show us our strengths, and often lead us to like a deeper understanding of ourselves.
I'm seeing how this book really challenges like our usual way of thinking.
Right. And then there's this whole thing about finding a fulfilling environment. And it's not about job titles, it's about the actionations you enjoy, like what verbs light you up.
Verbs. Okay, so instead of saying I want to be a doctor, it's more like I love helping people and solving problems.
Yeah, exactly. And once you figure out those verbs, you can look for environments where you can actually do those things.
This is like really practical advice. I'm starting to see why you're so into this book.
And it ties it all together. The books focus on the power of language, like how our words actually shape our reality.
So like instead of saying I'm so bad at this, I could say I'm still learning.
Yes. And it goes beyond just words. It even says we should try switching but to and in our thinking. So instead of I want to travel but I'm afraid to fly, you say I want to travel and I'm working on my fear.
That's interesting. It's like changing that one word opens up a whole new way of approaching things. It's not denying the fear, it's holding both desires and fears at the same time.
Exactly. And that's just scratching the surface. This book is packed with exercises and techniques to actually, put all this into practice.
Okay, I am definitely ready to hear more about those.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I needed. Okay, so we're back, and I'm ready to hear about those exercises you mentioned. Last time we were talking about finding happiness right now, those small success things, and how even bad experiences can be like gifts, right?
Yeah, yeah. And there's like a ton more. One that really stood out to me was the yada pose.
The what pose?
The yada pose. It sounds kind of silly, but, striking a powerful pose, like raising your arms up in victory. The book says it can actually boost your confidence.
I've heard of power posing, but like in the middle of the day. Feels kind of awkward.
I know, right? But the book says even if you don't feel confident at first, actually doing the pose can start to change how you feel on the inside.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a shot. What other exercises are there?
Oh, there's this one called the 3 Good Things reflection. You just spend a few minutes at the end of the day writing down 3 positive things that happened.
Like anything.
Anything. A good meal, a nice sunset, a conversation with a friend, anything that felt good.
I can definitely try that. It's so easy to get stuck on the negative stuff, but Yeah, actively looking for the good, I can see how that could help.
Right. And it doesn't have to be big things either. The book's all about appreciating those small, everyday joys, like, that first sip of coffee or the sun on your face.
Yeah, I guess I do take those for granted. What about, like, dealing with negative self-talk? That's something I struggle with.
Oh, yeah. The book has some great stuff on that. One technique it suggests is actually talking to yourself in the mirror,
Yeah.
using positive affirmations.
Like talking to myself out
It
loud.
it sounds weird, but it can really help to actually say those positive things out loud.
So, like, instead of focusing on my flaws, I could say things like, I am capable or I am worthy, even if I don't believe it yet.
Exactly. The book says that by repeating those affirmations, you can actually start to rewire your brain and believe them.
So it's about, like, taking action even if it feels uncomfortable at first.
Totally. It says that real change often happens outside of our comfort zones. And that's true for everything from, trying a new exercise to facing those bigger challenges in life.
Speaking of challenges, what about those really tough situations, the ones that just feel impossible? What does the book say about that?
Oh, it has this cool technique called the reference person method. It's basically like you pick someone you admire, maybe a historical figure or a mentor, even a character from a book, and you ask yourself, what would they do in this situation?
Oh, that's a good idea. Like an imaginary mentor to help you figure things out.
Exactly. The book says that by stepping outside your usual way of thinking and seeing things from someone else's perspective, you can often come up with new solutions.
Makes sense. Instead of getting stuck in my own head, I can tap into someone else's wisdom. What else is in there?
Well, there's a whole section about letting go of comparisons. The book says that comparing ourselves to others is a surefire way to be unhappy.
Oh, the comparison trap. Yeah, I definitely fall into that one, especially with social media and all that.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in comparing our lives to these curated versions we see online. But the book's all about focusing on our own progress, celebrating our own wins, and being kind to ourselves.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding contentment and fulfillment within ourselves, regardless of what everyone else is doing.
That's such a relief to hear. It takes the pressure off trying to, keep up with everyone else.
And remember that idea about focusing on verbs instead of nouns when it comes to finding fulfillment?
Right. It's about, like, figuring out what actions bring us joy instead of getting hung up on specific job titles or whatever.
The book has a cool exercise for this. Imagine you have a day with absolutely no limitations, no work, no obligations, just pure freedom. What would you do? How would you spend that day?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd probably, like, travel somewhere new, read a good book, hang out with friends and family, maybe go for a hike in nature.
See, those are all actions. By paying attention to how you'd spend your ideal day, you can figure out what really lights you up.
And then start doing those things, even if it's just a little bit at a time. I love that.
It's all about finding those little pockets of joy and fulfillment, even within, the everyday routine. There's so much good stuff in this book.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay, we're back for the last part of our happiness deep dive. You've given us so many good things to think about already, like those power poses and positive self-talk and even that reference person thing. What else is in this treasure trove?
One thing that stuck with me is how the book talks about control, like our need to control everything. And it says, to be truly happy, we kind of have to let go of that need a bit and just embrace the fact that life, is unpredictable.
So instead of freaking out when things don't go as planned, it's more about rolling with it.
Exactly. It's like the book uses this analogy of sailing a boat. You can set your sails, but you can't control the wind, right? Sometimes it'll be at your back, pushing you along, and other times you'll hit those headwinds and you gotta adjust.
It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about learning to deal with them.
Yeah. And sometimes those unexpected detours can actually lead to the most, amazing experiences. The book reminds us that, real growth often happens when we step outside our comfort zones.
Yeah, it's like those unplanned adventures that end up being the best part of a trip.
Right. And it goes even deeper, suggesting that even those really hard experiences, the ones that feel like total wipeouts, can actually lead to serious growth and change.
So even if something really bad happens, good can still come out of it.
The book says, yeah, those tough times can actually shape us into stronger, more resilient people. It's not about pretending it wasn't hard. It's about seeing the potential for growth, even in those dark moments.
Instead of asking why me, It's more like, what can I learn from this?
Exactly. And the book reminds us that we don't have to go through those tough times alone. Reaching out to people, talking to friends and family, getting support, that can make a huge difference.
It's a good reminder that even when you feel totally lost, there are people who can help.
Right. Speaking of help, the book also has some tips for cultivating a more positive mindset, even when there's negativity all around. One thing it suggests is spending a few minutes each day focusing on something that brings you joy, just for a little boost.
Yeah, like giving yourself permission to enjoy the little things. What else?
Oh, and that gratitude practice we talked about, that's super important. The book says to actually keep a gratitude journal. Write down 3 things you're thankful for each day, no matter how small they seem.
I've tried gratitude journals before, but I feel like I end up writing the same things over and over. How do you keep it fresh?
It's about going a little deeper. Instead of just listing things, think about why you're grateful for them. How do they make you feel? How do they impact your life? The book even says to try finding gratitude in those tough situations.
Wait, like being grateful for things that are hard. How does that even work?
It's about recognizing that even those tough situations can teach us things. Maybe they help us develop new skills or become more understanding of other people.
I see. So it's not about ignoring the negative. It's about looking for the good that might come out of it.
Exactly. And remember those positive affirmations we talked about earlier. The book really emphasizes how powerful they can be. Choose some that resonate with you and say them regularly, especially when you're feeling down.
It seems like the big takeaway from this book is that it's all about taking action, right? It's not enough to just read it. You have to actually put the ideas into practice.
You got it. And one of the most important actions you can take, according to this book, is embracing imperfection. It reminds us that none of us are perfect, and that's okay.
So instead of trying to be perfect, it's about accepting ourselves, flaws and all.
Exactly. The book encourages us to celebrate those imperfections. It uses this cool analogy of kintsugi, the Japanese art of fixing broken pottery with gold. The cracks actually become part of the story of the object, making it even more beautiful.
I love that analogy. Our flaws don't make us less worthy. They're part of what makes us who we are.
This book has been so great. I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
I know, right? I'm definitely walking away with a lot of new tools for dealing with life's challenges. The biggest thing for me, though, is that reminder about choice. We always have a choice in how we react to things, how we talk to ourselves, how we see the world.
Well said. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. Reach out to people. Build those support systems. Connect with others.
This has been an awesome deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing this book with me.
You're welcome. Keep exploring and keep choosing joy.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.